Good evening to you, my friends.
Good evening, my brother. Welcome.
It is a pleasure to come and to talk with you. It is very difficult at times, is it not, to understand the workings of the Spirit within you, the individual, and of the Spirit within those that you may not know. For you know it is always with sadness that we have to talk with you about hostilities between those of the human race. It brings sadness to you as you listen to all those conflicts that are apparent within your physical world. And yet you have heard at the beginning of this service of what you would term a miracle, when one individual was not hurt in any way in the physical form. And so you see, we can protect, we can help, and your prayers and thoughts are living things that aid and abet us in our work from the spiritual realms of life. Because you know, when you pray, you want everything in the physical world to be at peace. And that is more than admirable. And your reading talked about taking up arms and fighting for what you believe in and what you know to be right for one and all. But how do you convince others about peace when they within themselves have a hidden agenda that cannot be seen? And as was said, they were taken into the fold of a spiritual establishment within your physical world, and yet they abuse the knowledge that they had gained. And that will mean that when they progress and move back to the realms of light, then they have to make amends. And so you see, it is you, the individual, that has to forgive you, the individual, for your actions whilst you are in the physical form of life. And that is why, you see, you have to look beyond the confines of matter. And that is very difficult, you see. That is why from time to time we send to you those that are led by the light of the Spirit, that can perform what you term miracles, because it is that individual's pathway to prove to the skeptic, to those that only want to fight for what they think is right, for power, for the individual. And so we have to dispel some of the things that happen in your world, dispel the fear from your minds and your hearts when you are looking towards the Spirit for help and direction. And so it is good to use the meditative state for you to link with your own true self, and for the power of the spirit world to come in for your benefit, you the individual. That is what is important. There are many that come to lead a spiritual existence, to shine their light. And you know, they are subject to oppression, to ridicule, and goodness knows what, by other humankind that cannot see what life is truly about, because you should be able to share one with the other, and yet under the auspices of oppression and conflict, the power of the Spirit, it can be seen to be working for the best for many. And so you may think that those carrying the banner forward for the light are being held back in some way and not making progress, and yet progress is being made. All of the time the planets of the universe change their alignment one to the other, and this has an effect on your earth also. And so you are moving towards, you see, the Aquarian age. You are in it, and things have to change, and things will change, and they will change for the better in time, but it cannot be seen, because everybody is struggling for power for themselves, and not for the benefit of everything and everyone. And so through eons of time we have explained that it is not that we should be fighting one another or even yourself. You should be accepting of the power of the Spirit. Within your world there are many that are grief-stricken at the loss of loved ones and friends. And this is part of being a human individual, when the spirit is encased by that physical form. And that physical form and that physical mind is wanting to be in control. And sometimes, you know, taking control, it makes your world become out of control. And this is mainly the problem. Who enters into a spiritual environment and does not understand the Spirit within themselves, then, as you have witnessed, things go awry. And the last person or people that you would expect to cause harm, then they come forward and do what seems to be wicked work in your world. But you know, there are too many that we would consider are brainwashed into thinking that they have to become martyrs to bring power to many in your world. Your world has to turn itself on its head, to use modern terminology, because you see it is progressing forward, and the individual will not have power over the individual when the motives behind that power are not in alignment with the God energy of life. And so too much harm cannot be done. And that is why that story was told to you about that lady that was walking in danger but was not physically hurt. The problem being, of course, that as a sensitive, that individual will take some time to feel comfortable again in the work that she and the unit together are doing. And yet, she now has a lifeline to this temple of light,
Yes.
which we talk to you about every time we come forward. Because people are drawn in, whether it is via new and very used technology by way of email. We have a better technology in ours
Yes.
because it is spirit to spirit,
Yes.
not computer to computer
No.
or handheld phone. We have better ways of working it out because our batteries do not fail.
No, indeed.
You see. And if your batteries do wear themselves out, then communication easily stops.
Yes.
And you have to find a power source to plug back in. So we are light years ahead of your technology, you see.
Yeah.
And that is good because that shows you how the power of God is indestructible and will never cease to communicate to you earthlings. Because you are only firing on one cylinder, and that is usually of the material. When we fire on all cylinders that are spiritual. And so that should bring back to you hope. And what shall we say? Confidence. Because that is what happened this evening on hearing that sad news. All your confidence disappeared. But you know, you have to be confident about the Spirit that is within you, that motivates you to go forward, that allows you time to send out your thoughts, your living thoughts that, as we said, we use. In your holy book, the Bible, we talk about war all of the time, because it has never stopped happening in your world that one sect will fight another because they have different ideas, but they are forgetting about the truth of the Spirit. And so you should all be linking with each other. And that is what happens when you work on a spiritual level. Because we do not need batteries to power that spiritual activity. We need you, the human being that is the Spirit, and part of God, the Creator. If you can feel peace within yourself, then that is what we need, because when you do that, you are not going to fight with other people, whether it be family or friends, because you will be spiritually alive. And then when that goes out to other individuals, when they get to that place of peace within themselves, then your world will start to calm down and be less, what shall we say, volatile. Because you know, you only have to strike a match in the wrong place, the wrong circumstances, and a fire will erupt if the other things are all equal. Your world seems to be in turmoil. But we will say to you that it is only change happening all at once. And eventually there will be a breakthrough that will please those in the spirit world. Because there are many that are truly enlightened by the Spirit. And as much as they invite other people to work with the Spirit, if they are not willing to be true to themselves and their own spirit, then you are going to get volatility in your world and not calm and peace. So saying it in that way you and we have a lot of work to do. But as we said, all avenues of communication are open and not reliant upon battery power that fades. Reliant on power that is within you, the power of the Spirit. So that is why we need you as an army, not to take up arms, but to take up the Spirit and to fight for what you know is the truth. And the truth is that you are only encased within that physical body. And if it was, what shall we say, problematic to the individual, eventually that body will not be needed as a vehicle for the Spirit, because the Spirit always transcends what you term to be death. So even when all these people are wiped off your earth through war and conflict, they are alive and well in our world and ready to fight for the right course, that of peace. So that will tell to you that you, the individual, are your own worst enemy for misunderstanding power of the Spirit and the truth. And so that seems a little harsh, we know, but you will see when you find harmony and accept the love of God the Creator, then your world will begin to show signs of coming back to spiritual life. And you now enter springtime. Your world is springing into life in the form of nature. The spirit world springs into life with you, the individual. And there are many that do understand how to work with those energies from God the Father. And so we don't bring you despair, we bring you hope, but more importantly we bring you peace. That we want you to feel that things are moving forward and that spirit within you is being ignited yet again as you begin a new season and you see life coming back into nature. Because your world also works in cycles, you see. And yes, if something is not newsworthy, because it has been running a long course, it does not mean that there is not need. And that is why you are linked into that particular country. But you from that are going to see how the Spirit takes charge. Not control, because we cannot control your world. You have to do that. But when it is controlled by the Spirit of mankind, then things will begin to change, so that it can be seen how the forces of light work. Illumination comes to the individual that is prepared to give time to themselves and their true selves, that of the Spirit. So you see, that reading ended with that prayer that you are all familiar with, a prayer to the Father God. And that prayer may be considered by some to be a mantra, because it can be said quite quickly without you understanding the power behind the words. And yet what it does, a mantra and that type of prayer, immediately puts your mind into the spiritual mode of life and gives it the energy to be able to be used for the best by those ambassadors of life that work close to your earth plane, so that it can be reinforced in our world, to give it more energy, to give it more battery power, you see, to kick us into action, to define the spot where the action is needed the most. Because really, the power of the Spirit is needed everywhere in your world, because too many people abuse the power of the Spirit, because they only work on the material vibration of themselves and life. And that is when they take from the earth plane, but they do not give back. And then, of course, it looks as though devastation is what is in order. But we tell you not to worry, because the Spirit will always transcend that of the material, as it did when that lady was unharmed as a result of destruction there in the physical world. And so we want you to take this forward, and perhaps, yes, to take up arms, but not with guns and all those weapons that are used in warfare, but to take up arms with the very power that is you, the spiritual self. And then you'll begin to see that the light goes forth and shines in the darkest corner of your earthly world. So remember these links that you are making to various paths, because there is much that can be gained from a true association of spirit to spirit. And do not despair about those that come in to a spiritual place and use the power in an unwise way, because they too are helped to see the light. But of course, until they see the light, they can cause a great deal of devastation, but they cannot win. And so your world of matter is safe, just a little bit difficult to live within. It is good that we are able to talk to you directly. It is good that you listen. It is good that you act upon what you know to be right. It is good that you take time to worship the Spirit, because that does help us to see how it is that we can move those spiritually enlightened forward in their lives. So do not despair. Be happy and do your work, as was said, maybe in secret. It does not matter, because you know, sometimes when you are in that power of the Spirit, then we can utilize those thoughts and that energy to help us to spread out and to be a beacon and to help those that are ready to listen and work in that light, in that love. So do not despair of those that seem to lose their way, because they have to make amends. It is not anybody else's problem, but those individuals that are a little bit mixed up within their own hearts and minds, and within their own spirit also. So we work unceasingly with your thoughts, with your spirit, to maintain that communication between God the Father and those beings in your world that are there to bring that work forward and that light, so that your world is kept safe and well. And so we say to you, my friend, good night and God bless.